Welcome to Context Matters. The date is April 16, 2026, and it's a Thursday. We want to have a conversation today about defending yourself in a high crime society, law versus animal farm. Just going to leave it like that. But just a quick observation. The President Donald Trump, he is the leader of the free world, first world country. And one of the things he has done in recent times is to um, grab the Strait of Hormuz. And what results from that grabbing, as you can see from the display of the photo, those of you who don't know where the Straits of Hormuz is, I'm trying to geographically help you to locate it. So, one of the things is the effect it has on our economy, um, the effect it has on our access to fuel. Um, all of these things are going to be so important. Big up yourself, Rowan Robinson. But before the show starts, I'm doing the icebreaker to say that the Strait of Hormuz is, significant in terms of our access to the fuel, and the result of the President Donald Trump grabbing the Strait of Hormuz. As you can see, anybody who knows where Yemen is, and Egypt, and Oman, Saudi Arabia, Iran, India. But if you focus on the Strait of Hamas, you get an idea of why Donald Trump would be anxious to grab the Strait of Hamas. Now, it has caused our energy minister to contemplate locking down Jamaica and go back to work from home, restrictive movements. So persons who have small businesses may find themselves with no customers. Persons who are reliant on you know an open economy, freedom of movement, free flow, may find themselves in a very unfortunate circumstance that they may not have um, customers. That is just a harsh reality. So again, the one would understand the effects of you know what has happened in the United States, and whether or not it affects Jamaica is evident. Oil prices are extremely high, so gas prices is high, fuel is high. What age there was just a couple weeks ago, 87 gas was cheaper than water. Catch me outside now. How about that? Shout out to party leader Mark Golding, because that aged quickly. I am certain now the prime minister is happy to say, I got you, because gas now costs more than water. Definitively. Do that on B2. I'm sure the prime minister is somewhere saying that right now. But if you move away from the distractions and focus on what is in front of you, like how the president of the United States is focused on grabbing the Straits of Hormuz, and again, the illustration would indicate how anxious he is as a grabber to grab the Straits of Hormuz. Now, we must look at what happens in terms of current affairs and not be distracted. An interesting thing that happened in the parliament this week is the NARA bill. And I'm looking forward to give my contribution to the NARA bill and its effect for several reasons. We are going to, as a nation, start to have conversations about immunity and indemnity from conduct from persons who are engaged by the government. It has become a practice in this country where taxpayers bear the brunt of all of the wrong actions of CEOs and just members of the government. Members meaning workers, government workers who would have either been negligent or something. Um, and you would appreciate that once we have the conversations about whether or not we give a particular person so much power and then indemnify them, it becomes a breeding ground for what later in the future will be an argument about corruption. And it's something for us to sit and continue. Um, and again, in all conversations, remember the Constitution says government in their conduct must always consider less restrictive measures. And so the Constitution sets out states of emergencies, natural disasters, economic fallout doesn't fall into that. And so what the government has to do is to get the public to appreciate the significance. I'll just put it out here on this platform because the platform is mine. The show as it is, I haven't officially. I'm just having a conversation with you to say that the the true essence or what we ought to be doing or what we ought to be considering right now is whether or not the government should consider other measures. So rather than a restriction on movement, um, a, a COVID type lockdown, anybody who is still suffering from post traumatic stress disorder from the lockdown situation in COVID, you must say or think that the government should find less restrictive measures. What does that look like? A congestion tax, if you don't need to be in the town and if you don't need to traverse the city and stuff like that, then yeah, the government have enough police officers to restrict movements generally rather than restrict the freedom of movement for all and talk about work from home and disrupt the economy in such a way that small businesses suffer. Because most times, when government make their policies, they make sure that the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. And then they tell you choose Jamaica, but not the people. So when we build in, we have to build to make sure that the people of Jamaica is included and experience a part of that. Don't take it lightly. I'm explaining these things to you because while everything is going on and all this excitement and the bang around, there are people that's living in abject poverty and there's people who can't find them way in the way that they would like to do so. So I'm just putting that out there for people to appreciate that anything that's happening, once it's going to affect your livelihood, once it's going to affect you as a citizen of this country, especially when you're trying. So I'm coming from court today, and let me tell you something. When they take away your bike as a youth and yeah, the bike make noise and people try to hear. But imagine you trust a bike and you use it so you can do delivery work and it might not insure or whatever. I'm not saying that you mustn't insure the bike, but do you think that if the police confiscate the bike under strict liabilities, if that's going to make your life any better, or they're going to put it on the pound and you can't pay for it and you lose it and you're 20 times worse than you were, and they government has developed a system of turning ordinary citizens into criminals. We have to think about that. So even right now, somebody has a car loan because or a vehicle loan because they invest in themselves. So they're going to become a taxi driver or a taxi owner or a highest bus to take home kids or whatever it is, transport, delivery service, small business thing. You even have a stall, you just buy a container and say, me I go run a little shop somewhere close and try and make some money, and then sell some pure water, because pure water is the water you have to drink and these things. And then lo and behold, you hear say country like a lockdown, and you and your products and your banana bulla, all of that I could just go up in smoke. And you did a throw five Hannah partner. You throw your partner, you take the hand them and trust the goods and pay the car loan and all of that. Though if you think it's like telling, NCB, the National Commercial Bank, is have millions of dollars. I don't know to call the number of repossessed cars that they're auctioning. So if you want a car right now, them take a car from people, trying people. A round robin too. Your round robin, all of them things there. You keep a show, you keep a dance. Imagine you keep a show and then people box people and then decide say them are gonna shoot people. And you take out a loan for keeping on to keep for try get things, and then big bad people come and box people and shoot them and them things there, and people have to defend themselves. Imagine being a promoter after you think a good thing coming on the next event, and then you just run up in a one big wall. There it is, radam. You don't know what reach you. So these things are important. So we have to think about how people are trying to survive in a high crime society, how people are trying to ensure that, see, somebody says it's 400 million plus for 400 million plus for the cars that are being repossessed. So that's the very thing I'm trying to tell you about. The circumstances of how those cars get repossessed includes getting a traffic ticket, um, transport authority put your car on record and give you a date 6 months from now, and you don't have money to get a lawyer for ask the judge to get the vehicle released. All of these things set your life back. So when government is planning, government says the greater good for the greater number, and they don't think about the struggling man. The Constitution speaks about equality for all, equity where necessary, equitable treatment. It thinks about the minority as well. The least among us is to ensure that human dignity is there and people are striving. So let me tell you something. You may get up in the morning deciding that you have all the ambitions in the world. Imagine being a university student. So that means you have a brain, and imagine you walk into the university and you have the ambitions to be a leader, but there are people who don't like you, people who decide say them want to destroy your life, and they breach constitutions, both the Constitution of Jamaica and the university constitution, and just decide say them are gonna just cut you out as a child, a son or daughter of Jamaica, and make rules that prevent you from putting up yourself for representational politics. I mean, even just generally, because as soon as I offered myself for representation for Portland Eastern, there were press releases from the opposing party saying that I am a criminal and I should not be allowed to run, and all of the things without respecting the Constitution. So there will always be people that will be in your way. And so don't take it lightly when Kendrick Lamar said they not like us, because in a free and democratic society where persons don't appreciate that we are all free, and the democratic process allows you to participate in the process, there will be people that will try to exclude you, and they will come for you. Schools will say you can't enter the school because you have dreadlocks, and lice and junjo are going to reach the non-dreadlocks people. People will say that fat people can't participate because them don't want them in here. People will still say your skin is too dark, and so you have to swim in a 87 gas when it was cheaper and rub up liquor. So you look liquor brown. And I know everybody have the big phone, and I know everybody there on TikTok for have the filter where look like not do them. Them kind of realities there is what we have for experience, right? Um So that is of utmost importance, right? So the next thing that people have to appreciate also, um, is that having said these things, you have to ensure that you are not lost in the I want to say lost in translation. I want to say lost in transition as well. So, having said that, in all of this, remember, we wake up January morning and there was a mission to exterminate um, young black men, labeling them as either gang members or persons who are shooting back at the police. And therefore extrajudicial killing has become a part of the society to rid the society of the scourge and the Krasmites. And so your sons and are now, and brothers and sisters, and anybody who doesn't fit the mold of a progressive person. So if you I recall one time somebody said that it was okay to be rubbing out your hand middle. Well, when you leave school. Well, over the Easter break, several young people, youth, were a part of the mass killings of citizens extrajudicially by the police. So young boys of school going age found themselves dead with the same narrative that they were a part of the narrative that they are miscreants, menace to society. Well, now that this is a reality and government is determined to reduce murder and ensure that Jamaica is not a high crime society, you find that persons will be victims of police killings. So now let's put it in context. Because Jamaica is a high crime society, one of the hallmarks of being a high crime society or living in a high crime society is that you as a citizen will always have to find ways to help yourself. Helping yourself, in other words, the Bee Gees had a song, Staying Alive, and it sounded like they were laughing. They say, staying alive. That one, that same one. You're going to have to find ways to stay alive. It means then that um, when society has created different rules for law enforcement versus ordinary people, the standards are different. We start to ignore the constitutional values, and we start to make different rules. Even uptown people will be treated different from downtown people. That has always been the case, but it just means that persons will make sure that if they can live uptown, they are not, they don't stay in places where they're likely to die. So it becomes a shocker when things happen out of the norm, not expected, especially when things happen and it's not in the dance hall per se. Persons are wondering what is going on there. Well, the law as it stands in Jamaica is twofold, but not just Jamaica, just the world as a whole, whether or not it's applied in Jamaica properly and you don't have to get to the Privy Council, then there is a requirement or there is a mechanism that says that clearly, you have a right to defend yourself. And we're going to talk about the right to defend yourself. And in that context is what we're going to deal with context matters. So you have the law, and then you have social media. You do have that. And for those people who are interested, again, this is context matters. It airs every single Thursday on Reggae Global Radio, the flagship station, Reggae Global Radio. We also are streaming and aired live on Best FM 100. Big up to the YouTube, Walking in Divine Purpose. I hope you are here. Big up to my moderator. And of course, TikTok. So you might be new to the space, and then you might be over here because of because of the drama, as people would call it, and we will get to that. But we're talking about self-defense right now. So again, you are listening and watching Context Matters, and yes, as I said, the date is April 16th, and we are talking about defending yourself in a high crime society. So my people are here now on YouTube and on the station respectively. If you're driving home, we're gonna have the conversation. And I'm looking in the comment section. If you're asking competent questions or questions that make sense, I'll be happy to answer it. So stay tuned, just watch.
It's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it straight. No time for living a lie. Gotta keep it moving till you get it right. That's right. It's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it straight. No time to be living a lie. You can make it if you try. No, I heard them say life much better you live it your own way.
All right. So, as I said, we talk about we talk about we often talk about um self-defense and what it is. Well, self-defense is a complete defense. Right? We're starting right there. It is a complete defense. So the law says that you have a right to protect yourself. So if you deploy self-defense, then guess what? You're free from criminal liability. It's a complete defense. Not to be confused with provocation. We heard that recently in a high-profile case where someone was said that they were provoked and it caused them to kill, and they were afforded the defense of provocation, which caused them to be charged for manslaughter and not murder. Somehow in the criminal law, it is way sexier to be labeled a manslaughterer than a murderer. So while provocation is a partial defense, um, you have diminished responsibility of suicide pact. All of these are a part of defenses in the criminal law. Um, it sometimes is what is important when it comes to people understanding the law as it is. So what often happens though is that people there is a requirement, I should say, for persons to it can be clear cut, but if certainly if you are charged, you raise self defense is made out, you're exonerated or you're not liable. So it is commonly asserted by those charged with crimes of violence. So um, assault, battery with a deadly weapon, or take it higher, unaliving. Let me say that for the purpose of broadcasting commission. So the defendant will say, yes, they did use violence, but claims that it was justified by the other person's threatening, I hope you're listening, um, or violent actions. So the core issue in self-defense cases often are who was the aggressor, and this is for public knowledge now. So when people are making the assessment, you are to know who was the aggressor. So if that's the first thing. So you can check the boxes. Who start the violence, the threats, the assault? Who assault who first? Then you ask yourself, was the defendant's belief that self-defense was necessarily a reasonable one? That's another question. You ask yourself that. If somebody come and I do you something and then come with a whole of them friend them and you apprehend fear and the fear is real, ask those things. If so, was the amount of force that was used also reasonable? Well, just know that self defense is rooted in the belief that people should be allowed to protect themselves. The law allows that, right? So, in part, it means that someone doesn't necessarily have to wait to the point of actually being struck in order to act in self defense. Whatever the circumstances are, any force that would be the um, any force that the defendant uses has to be reasonable under the circumstances. So one must understand. And there are two cases, I'm just going to tell you, Beckford and the Queen and Palmer and the Queen. No, Palmer and the Queen, that's the name of the case. Those two cases. When I have Google, read up or search it. Beckford and the Queen, Privy Council, Palmer and the Queen, Privy Council. Um, so what does reasonable force look like? Let's talk about that. Well, it claimed to have held if the particular belief as regards to the existence of any circumstances, then the reasonableness or otherwise of that belief is relevant to the question whether the defendant genuinely held it. It's an honest belief. So if it is determined that the defendant did genuinely hold it, then they're entitled to rely on it for the purpose of the legislation. There's a case that so it even if your belief was mistaken, so if it was mistaken, the mistake was a reasonable one to have made. And there is a case called Gladstone Williams. And I'm going to tell you now about it because it is important. The man pretty much was witnessing somebody being attacked and he run because self-defense is for self and another. So you can imagine if you all enter a dance and you're your woman and she pretty like money, Miss World, Miss Universe type of pretty. And you walk with your woman with nice. And you have to all protect her. Self-defense. So you have to protect her. You're pretty so another. So imagine you apprehend fear and them things there. Well, Gladstone Williams said the man say a man was being attacked and him just run in and beat up the man beat up the attacker. It turned out said the attacker was a police and them lock him up. Well, the court held that the appeal was allowed and the appellant's conviction was quashed. And hear what Lord Lane said. The reasonableness or unreasonableness of the defendant's belief is material to the question of whether the belief was held by the defendant at all. If the belief was in fact held, its unreasonableness so far as guilt or innocence is concerned is neither here nor there. It is irrelevant. So were it otherwise, the defendant would be convicted because he was negligent in failing to recognize that the victim was not consenting or that a crime was not being committed. And so, in other words, the jury should be directed, first of all, that the prosecution have the burden or duty of proving the unlawfulness of the defendant's actions. Secondly, if the defendant may have been laboring under mistake as to the facts, he must be judged according to his mistaken view of the facts. Thirdly, that is so whether the mistake was, on an objective view, a reasonable mistake or not. In a case of self defense, where self defense or the prevention of crime is concerned, if the jury came to the conclusion that the defendant believed or may have believed that he was being attacked or that a crime was being committed and that force was necessary to protect himself or to prevent the crime, then the prosecution have not proved their case. If, however, the defendant's alleged belief was mistaken and if the mistake was an unreasonable one, that may be a powerful reason for coming to the conclusion that the belief was not honestly held and should be rejected. Even if the jury come to the conclusion that the mistake was an unreasonable one, if the defendant may genuinely have been laboring under it, he is entitled to rely upon it. So, somebody said, don't break a hip. Donna Thompson, what's going on there? Forced to defend oneself of life. Yeah, it's reasonableness. So the mistake, though, once it is honest and it is honestly held, doesn't matter how people think objectively or how people feel, you're gonna understand right away, immediately, that once you do that, they're going to make the assessment about the that the response is proportionate to the threat. Well, how them usually say it is, man can't bring knife to gunfight. Man can't just get up and just allow say people are gonna do them things and you take it. Otherwise, them pronounce you. And if it's one thing I can tell you, in a high crime society as Jamaica, watch the news every day. Watch the news as it is. Any single day. You watch the news and guess what happens as you look at the news? The news will tell you immediately. Where there's extrajudicial killings, they said 4 men were gunned down on Walton Park Road. They were challenging the police. And upon challenging the police, they were shot. None of the police officers were harmed in the shootout. Forensic came and the bodies were moved in the back of the marked vehicle, and they were taken and pronounced dead at the hospital. We now turn over to the crime officer and ask the crime officer what happened. Yes? Well, these 4 men were violence contributors and they were on the wanted list. And today is Thursday and they were on wanted Wednesdays. So we did the operation and the men were there on the road and we cornered off the area and a shootout ensued. The men were deaded and guns were found. That is what happened. It is our story and we are sticking to it. We also understand that Hindicom will investigate. Make them investigate. Yalao is not bound to kill this. It's a hammer. Anyway, that happens. And you hear that every day. Similarly, we hear it where persons are harmed in their house, playing dominoes at a bar, children are involved, old people, women, no discrimination when it comes to what happens in the high crime society situation and scenario. Don't take it lightly. This is a real thing. And when we talk about the lived human experience, persons understand that, boy, it really ain't safe, no matter how they say it's safe. So again, remember, defending yourself in a high crime society is going to mean that you have to decide if you're going to be carried by 6 or judged by 7. It's 7 now, it's no longer 12 if the law has since been updated. Now, Beckford and the Queen, 1988, Privy Council decision. The appellant was a police officer and he was issued with a shotgun and ammunition and sent with a number of other armed police officers to a house. Well, according to the appellant, a report had been received from Heather Barnes that her brother, Chester Barnes, was terrorizing her mother with a gun. Heather Barnes, however, denied that she had made a telephone call to the police or that the brother was armed. Well, the appellant said that on arriving at the house, he saw a man run from the back door with an object which appeared to be a firearm. As the police followed him, the appellant stated that Barnes fired at the police. In response to this, he fired back, shooting and killing Barnes. In fact, no gun was ever found, and the trial judge directed the jury that a man who is attacked in circumstances where he reasonably believed his life to be in danger, or that he is in danger of serious bodily injury, may use such force as one reasonable grounds he thinks necessary in order to resist the attack. And if in using such force he kills his assailant, he is not guilty of any crime, even if the killing is intentional. So, people, just understand this. It's a, when gunman box you, or let me tell you, no, let me explain something to you. In situations where you have you're walking down the road and four people come and approach you. The four people come and they approach you, and when they approach you, here's what happens. Them take your phone and take your watch. Um, the legislation actually say when two or more people are gathered, that is church. But when two and people are gathered and surround you and you walk in and take your things, is aggravated robbery. And the time is just as if a one person was armed. And the threat, therefore, when assessed, is equally that you have to do what you have to do to get away and flee. So the jury actually convicted him of murder, which carries a death penalty in Jamaica at the time in 1988. Mind you, people, death penalty is a hot topic this year. It remains on the book, notwithstanding that notice Beckford and the Queen 1988. 1988 was the last time in Jamaica somebody was unalived. But anyway, by the death penalty in Jamaica. So what the jury convicted him of murder, and he appealed, contending the judge was wrong to direct that the mistake needed to be reasonably held. And here's what the Privy Council said. The appeal was allowed and the conviction was quashed. The test to be applied for self-defense is that a person may use such force as is reasonable in the circumstances as he honestly believes them to be in the defense of himself or another. That's the law on self-defense, right? Reasonable force has an objective element. So there's a case called Martin. He lived alone on an isolated farm called Bleak House. And guess what? The personality disorder could not be considered for the purposes of self-defense. It did amount to an abnormality of the mind which substantially impaired his mental responsibility for the killing. Since the psychiatric reports had not been considered by the jury, his conviction for murder was quashed. But the defense of self-defense and prevention of crime can be used to cover preparing for attack. So you have anticipatory self-defense. Here's what I'm saying to you. You cannot say that somebody is attacking you and therefore you blow them up if the response is not proportionate. It may not be whether subjective or objective be reasonable, and you cannot be suffering from mental illness and then say the mental illness prevented me from knowing the difference between right or wrong. It's just clear something is either clear on its face, or when it's raised on the facts, it becomes technical element. So what I will say to persons as we traverse these things is that for your own edification, for your own gratification, it's important that you understand the difference. Similarly, one of the worst things that happens in modern law is that persons without knowing the facts make determinations and pass judgments. There has to be a caution where that is concerned. Um, so somebody said the filter not right. I tell you, we worry about the wrong things in this life. Um, maybe your phone not right. You know what I'm gonna say. Anyway, there's this thing somebody keeps saying, are you representing JAIIIII? Somebody needs to get spell check or do something. Anyway, let's talk about excessive force and murder. So there has been some calls for a change where self-defense fails in relation to murder charge due to excessive force. The argument is that in such cases, the jury should have the option of returning a verdict of manslaughter that rather than having the all or nothing approach of murder or no criminal liability at all. The case of Tony Martin and Clegg have fueled such debate. Such an approach was adopted in Australia in the case of Queen and Howe, but was subsequently abandoned. Such an approach was rejected by the Privy Council in the case of Palmer. I said it earlier, and I'm going through it so that people have an understanding and they can use this as a watch it back when you don't have a time or something to just look at it. Now, Palmer and the Queen was actually 1971, and it's the Privy Council basically was asked. It came from the Court of Appeal, naturally. So the appellant and two others were chased by three men after they stole some ganja. So the three men had sticks and stones during the chase, and the appellant fired shots. One of the men chasing them died as a result of gunshot, and the appellant's case was that he had not fired the shot which killed the man, although the trial judge directed the jury on self-defense. The jury convicted him of murder. He appealed, contending that the judge in directing the jury on self-defense should have put an alternate verdict of manslaughter to the jury, and the appeal was dismissed. There is no option for a verdict of manslaughter where a defendant uses excessive force in self-defense. The defense either succeeds in its entirety or it fails. So juries may take into account the situation of the defendant in deciding if the force is excessive, and in so doing may take into account the position of the dilemma facing the defendant. I think that in and of itself is clear. What Lord Morris had said is, if there has been an attack so that defense is reasonably necessary, it will be recognized that a person defending himself cannot weigh to a nicety the exact measure of his necessary defensive actions. So if a jury thought that in a moment of unexpected anguish, a person attacked had only done what he honestly and instinctively thought was necessary, that would be most potent evidence that only reasonable defensive action had been taken. I'm going to leave it right there where that is concerned. So I'm not seeing no questions in relation to that, but I'm saying that persons have to understand two cases: Beckford and the Queen, Palmer and the Queen. So persons who feel how they want to feel. Somebody say rocks can kill too, but like I say, you can't bring a knife to a gunfight. You can't bring sticks and stones either. But again, one has to assess the situation. Every case turns on its individual facts. Um, Somebody say, what kind of weapon can you walk with reasonably? I'm not gonna give that advice because offensive weapons are offensive to the law, and the fine of $4,000 should actually be $20,000 or $30,000 for having offensive weapons. But yeah, that's another conversation. Um, so yeah, I think there persons then can look and make the distinction where it is concerned. for the whole issue of the protecting yourself. So again, remember, your environment will also kind of shape how you assess response to threats when it comes to you. Certainly now in Jamaica, the police, they are not even waiting for the gangsters in this country to say fair. We do have what is known as anti-gang legislation. What the law just generally, cases tried, they just the case is just certainly in the court. They just group when a group of men par together and decide that them bad together. The in Jamaica currently, what really is looked at is conduct. So especially if they go around doing that a lot, anti-gang arises. But there are cases in criminal law, that you don't escape liability when you voluntarily join a gang. Um, and so considerations to be made sometimes when persons are turfing, protecting turf, or anything like that. What would be looked at as conduct that is gang like, and the background the background information that comes with it. What I can say is that culturally, um, we have to, level up. And I'm saying we have to level up, and I want people to appreciate. I can hear you, but cannot see your face. If you can't see my face, it's probably because of the internet. Anybody having that problem where they can't see my face? Donald Thompson can't see me. That's not what that is not what is being said. Everybody can see me. No, people who are coming on my live and confessing, please don't confess to me. I know at least one PLO that is on my TikTok. Stop confessing. Stop telling me that you walk with ice pick and knife. Oh, shout out to Anansi. We beat the case today. Anansi, Jamaican Spider-Man, was charged for having a scissors. The matter was thrown out today because of legislation. Big up you, and my brother, use your spider webs, Zin, because them not itch these days. But what I will say to you is what I will say is it's important to know that ignorance is no excuse for the law. We are in a space in 2026 where egos can change the trajectory of your life. I'm gonna take we're almost at the end of the first hour, and I just want to make one real comment about success, about ambition, about anchoring your expectations on God. Um, and here's why this is important for people to just reflect just a bit. Here's what I'm saying. um, it cannot be that God bless you with talent, God bless you with opportunity, chance, creation, ability, and you, in the spur of a moment, cause reactions in law that puts you in a situation where your freedom is in the balance. Here's what I mean. Young black men especially should be reminded that the system is designed for your downfall, your failure. You ought not to manufacture or be the author of your demise. And I can tell you, you know, the things that people are to be searching for is happiness and peace of mind. Maybe the things that is disrupting those things is social media. So if you can't take the heat, and we bring the heat in Portland, you know, you just really have to stay out of the kitchen. They say sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. Yeah, I'm walking in divines in 9 minutes, so we know what's going on. So I will address that, but having understand that there is some social responsibility. Social responsibility meaning to ensure that your thoughts, your actions, your words um, will will not cause harm to persons to put you in a position to lose your liberty. If it's even for 5 days, and one has to contemplate, because I tell you, you know, the rules for the rich is way different for the poor. And I've come to realize that people, because they have money, they think that they're rich, but that's not what wealth is. So instead, the rules for the rich, the rules for the wealthy is different. So when you see people showing off and gallivanting and behaving and getting outside of themselves, you know, people with generational wealth says that they know that you're not used to nothing. I saw a TikTok video with Miss Kitty, and Miss Kitty said, "You're walking up and down and talking about you have five businesses and you're making money. That's why you're taking trips." And then she basically say, "Hey, little lion, tell me where you do so I can quit my job and quit and show where my degree and all of me I do and come pretend." Social media is not real, people. I'm taking this to tell you, don't make people gas you up on social media. Don't make people draw you out on social media. You have some people who them experiencing a lot of trauma in their lives, but social media, you can just turn on the social media and you can just put on a filter, and then people think say you look nice. All the ugly youth like me, you know, can just turn on TikTok and just put on a filter and me look like me at 23 at 47. And then people just vex with you because them say your skin smooth and your eye them all green and somebody. And for those who call me, anyway, let me leave that alone. I go ignore those comments. But when it all said and done, you have to live. You have to live with within your limits. You have to also understand that as a young black male, especially, protect your freedom, protect your health, protect your life. As a young black woman, protect your dignity, your freedom of autonomy, especially sexual autonomy, and self respect is something you have to protect. You never know where you're going to be 10 years from now. So when you're young, you may be able to be the lady of the night and in the go-go clubs, and then before you know it, you find yourself running for president or prime minister, and they're gonna come back and use it against you. It's the same thing. You don't want to find yourself being incarcerated, having run-ins with law, so people can question your character, because there's no forgiveness in society. It makes your life difficult and unnecessary, especially when you are young, gifted, and black, and you have a lot to contribute to the development of yourself. And yes, I hear beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, but I think the interpretation of that is that spiritual beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. So no matter what your physicality is, you are beautiful no matter what anybody say. And ironically, words won't bring you down. Probably I'm quoting Christina Aguilera, but you get the point. So in the next hour, we'll break down some technicalities. I want to talk about causation, but I have to share one thing before the top of the hour passes, and feel free to ask me questions on anything that I said earlier that you might not have it might not have connected or you missed. And if you need clarity, I'm happy to give that to you. But I must tell you, during my you know, in Portland, during my walks and trying to make assessments, whether it be for roads, whether it be for
Today we visit.
whatever it is that is happening at any given time, what I had managed to do, or I should say came across. So went into Clear Spring with Kern. Kern is Kern. He's the possible Kern. Like I say, went into Clear Spring with Kern, and that's the Fairy Hill division in Portland. And I'm just explaining something to you before the time passes. Yeah. And yeah, we start the tablet drive again, and we'll talk about that. But gone into the division, the Fairy Hill division, and Clear Spring with Kern, and we were looking at the roads because people were complaining about the roads there. So I needed to see for myself how bad it had become. And if rain started falling, but there was a young lady that was there, and it's difficult for you to miss the person, and I can't describe it unless you see it. But Kern says to me, listen, the roads are bad and she has to traverse with a walker. And naturally, you know what, I'll talk about it. Let me just play the video and I'll see you at the top of the hour. Yeah. Today we visited Clear Spring to do a road assessment, myself and Kern Wright. And during the road assessment, we came across a female who is unable to walk on her own. You know, it really brought to my mind the concept of the lived human experience. It's not until you're in the space you know that individuals have different needs. So it's important to be able to communicate, to find out what needs the persons have. And the best way to do that is to reach out whenever you have the opportunity to the constituency office so that your needs can be met. That being said, the need is urgent. So I definitely want to always thank the donors and the charities that's partnering with the Member of Parliament office in Portland Eastern, because it is through these charities that needs of the people are met, even the ones that you least expected. And for that, here it is, the walker. We're going to dispatch the walker today to ensure that the young lady gets the walker. I won't say much, but on a human rights level, it is always important that when needs are urgent, you're able and capable to meet them. Watch the ride. I want to say a special thank you to Sister Darling and Bernie Pennant's Hill Foundation. The director is Garfield Heron, and it is through this foundation that the walker is available, and the hospital beds and the other medical supplies for the Port Antonio Hospital. So, you know, when you least expect it. So to all the foundations that's sending the medical supplies and everything that's urgent care and special care, we appreciate you from Portland Eastern. And on behalf of the people of Portland Eastern, continue the partnership, and we are ever present. Blessings. Right, it's all in life.
Gotta keep your head up and keep it stride. No time for living a lie. Gotta keep it moving till you get it right. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it stride. No time to be living a lie. You can make it if you try. No, I heard them say life much better you live it your own way. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it stride. No time for living a lie. Gotta keep it moving till you get it right. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it stride. No time to be living a lie. You can make it if you try. No, I heard them say life much better you live it your own way.
Want to say a special shout out to Donna and Ella Wallace from London, England, Sheena and Brian Tullock Gaines, Laverne Archer, Carol, and Greg Black from Canada through the Share the Care JA partnership with Garrett Trading and Installation Limited, and that's Peyton Page Tullock and Alison Tullock. And we just want to say thank you for the donations to the people of Portland Eastern. This goes a long way in continuing the care package effort for the post Melissa relief. We appreciate you and the continued partnership with the Member of Parliament from Portland Eastern, myself, and we look forward to many more donations and assistance for the people of Portland Eastern. A much needed and timely donation. Blessings. All right, so I'm happy to present to Roma, the granddaughter of Miss Addie, I'm a mommy, the check of $125,000. This takes the current foundation to $425,000. We look forward to future donations, and this donation is coming from myself, Isaac Buchanan, the Member of Parliament for Portland Eastern, as well as Dr. Fenton Ferguson. There is a long history with Dr. Ferguson and Miss Addie, but what I will say is that a life well spent and a life lived continues through legacy. So we are supporting this foundation 100% and look forward to continuing to strengthen the foundation as it aligns with our mandate in Portland Eastern, which is to bring the heat, which is health, education, agriculture, and tourism. As the spokesperson on youth and human rights for the opposition, People's National Party, I can tell you that we look forward to great things and partnering. This is Roma. See her face, remember it. She looks like our grandmother, and she will be collecting all the donations and transparency and accountability. I'm confident that she's the perfect person to match this project and this foundation where it needs to be to helping the youth of Portland. So this is to you and the foundation.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Buchanan, and also Dr. Ferguson. This generous contribution will help honor my grandmother's legacy, her importance, or her push on the importance of education and helping the youth to school, books, uniforms, eat. This contribution will go very far away, and I'm very appreciative of everything that you have done. So thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome. welcome. We launched the foundation yesterday. And I'm saying yesterday, dating it, because on the 29th of March, Miss Addie was laid to rest. If you were there to listen to some of the tributes, you would understand. But I take with you, if you're ever buying fish, don't eat it unless it's 10 pounds or more. Otherwise, we don't want it. But I'll just say that she has impacted me in such a way that if somebody can touch you in just a short time and you remember her, that is definitely why we live and the purpose of life. I don't know it, but I know that is a part of it. So blessings to you.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you.
Right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it straight. No time for living a lie. Gotta keep it moving till you get it right. That's right, it's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it straight. No time to be living a lie. You can make it if you try. No, I heard them say life much better you live it your own way.
And welcome back. If you join me from Best FM 100, we appreciate you. Big up yourself. And if you're on the YouTube, big up yourself. Walking in Divine Purpose. I see you. I see you there telling them everybody read Walking in Divine Purpose comments. She's doing her thing. She's my moderator. If you're not behaving yourself, you're gonna have to make a new account. And on TikTok, Tasha B, Verona, KK with the AK, Samantha, Gardner, everybody who is my moderator over there. Are they gonna let them talk to me like that over there on TikTok? Them now go on good in the comment section. But yeah, let I want to talk. I spoke about self-defense, but I want to tell you something about the criminal law. It's something that I wanted to appreciate. It's the first in a long time I've ever seen a situation arise and so many areas in law are overlapping the central themes and stuff like that. I mean, research, sometimes there are cases where you can just zero it down and know, say, these are the issues. Sometimes cases become so complex that it touches areas in laws that's not contemplated. So a lot of times people talk about the practice of law, and a lot of lawyers don't like the paperwork, the paper heavy aspect of it, but there's a theoretical side of it that is of importance. So, people make reference to things that's called trite law. They like to say it's trite law that so and so happened, and you're supposed to know this. It is trite law. Um, to me, that's usually when lawyers just now court case, but them know that the judge know it, so them call it trite law. And if the other lawyers don't know it, there's really no excuse for not knowing it. But remember, it's not everybody is lawyer, so sometimes you don't leave out stuff. So I just sharing that there is something in law that talks about the conduct of a crime. So it's really the actus reus. That's what they call it. Sasuke says 80 and bust out a laugh. So yeah, conduct is a requirement. So actus reus is actually the conduct, the actual action. It has nothing to do with the mental. So that's mens rea. But why I'm raising the actus reus is because there are acts of commission and acts of omission. And I think, I don't remember when it was, I was talking about Dr. Janelle Matthews, who currently lectures at Cave Hill. And she was lecturing at Mona at the time in law. And it is just interesting because when you have good lecturers, and why it is important for young people to have the best teachers possible to expose them to life, to treat, to give them a certain level of respect for education, so that Miss Kitty don't have to cuss you and tell you say you need your education, and the quality of education also matters. Um, so don't know if Miss Kitty is watching and she was valedictorian, she bright, don't come for me. I'm just putting it out there that the essential part of it is that education is the great divider. So let me educate. So prescribed conduct may include acts of omission and um, acts of commission and state of being. So it's really three of them. I used to call it costs, if you knew of the calculator, commission, omission, and state of being. So when it comes to acts of omission, well, here's this. There is no criminal liability for inaction. So all of us, let me just give you an example. If we're driving on the highway and a car runs over and goes into the ocean or over the cliff, you can literally take over your cell phone and say, "Oh my God, OMG, the car is over the cliff. Let me zoom in with my Samsung S27 or 26, or let me use my iPhone 17 and the 18 is coming out. So let me just maximize the use of the camera." And you don't have to help them. You don't even have to call 119 because the law says there's no duty to act. But it also, there are exceptions to the rules. There is a duty to act, um, or the definition of an offense is expressed in terms which refer to an omission. So there is a duty to act where the law requires it. There are five exceptions. The first one is a contractual duty. The second one is a statutory duty. The third one is special relationships. And then there's the voluntary undertaking of care for those unable to care for themselves. Then there's the one that I am going to talk about is creating a dangerous situation. And it will become apparent why I'm talking about it. Now, work with me. It's not difficult. The same situation about the car going over. If you're an officer or a paramedic or a fireman and all of that, and you're prayed by the state, um, by statute, you have a duty or something, or if it's a child and the statute, the Child Care and Protection Act say if you a child is in danger, at a minimum you have a duty to call somebody. You can't leave it like that. So that is important, right? But it also means that there are instances where people create a dangerous situation. So imagine you go into a public place and you start drama in there, like box up people and kick up people and shoot up the place. You have created a dangerous situation. That is a given. And because you've created a dangerous situation, you are the author of that. So that is there. You have a duty then to fix that situation. There's a case. It was called Miller. Miller come home drunk and him going out of him house, him light him cigarette, fall asleep, the room start burn down, and him just figure said the place get hot, him go in the other room. Eventually, when the fire get really bad, him just jump out and the place burn down. That was creating a dangerous situation, and he was found guilty. So that is just that type of thing. So equally, you can have you can omit to do something, or you have created a situation, and then at the end of it all, for all those people who are harmed, um, if anybody at all is harmed, you may find yourself in a unfortunate situation where that is concerned. All right. So again, what I want to say is the rationale. So if one has created a dangerous situation, she has a duty to prevent or reduce the risk of the damage. So once you create the situation, you have a duty, to reduce or prevent the risk. So the rationale behind it is this: we all bear responsibility for our actions, even if those actions are unintentional, right? So don't take it lightly. There is social responsibility that if you're driving a car, you're not going to drive it recklessly. If people are passengers, you are. That's why strict liability reach so enough drivers. You are responsible for telling the people in your car to ensure that they wear seat belts. You are to ensure that the airbag are working in your car, and most of all, you're to ensure that you're not drunk or you're not high when you're driving, so that when accidents happen, you who created the situation have to be able to minimize the risk. So if you're driving drunk, make sure you don't crash, things like that. But you're not to be driving drunk. Don't drink and drive. Now, having said that, the what could have the defendant chose to do differently is a question of assessing the facts. What I will say to you then is dealing with these situations. We also understand that there is there's also situations where persons have something called conduct crime. So having the omission, so you create a dangerous situation, you're responsible for the the everything that flows from it. But you see, conduct crimes now is what you did, and then results crimes is what happened because of what you did. So how do we prove that the result was a consequence of the defendant's actions? Here where me I try showing you know about the law and why you have to just know what go on. Well, let me help you with that a bit. Um here is what that look like. It's called factual causation. Let me tell you how factual, easy to prove. The case to prove it is White, right? And White is a man that tried to kill his mother, and him tried poison her, but she died of a heart attack, but him still get found guilty for something else. They attempted, I guess. It says, but for the actions of the defendant, certain things wouldn't happen. Let me give you some, let me put it in layman terms. But for your father meeting your mother and doing what they did, you would not be here. And you can take it one step further. If your grandfather never do what him do with your mother, you wouldn't be here. So that's the but for test. But the law requires a little bit more analysis. So it's easy. So you can put it in context and say, but for people going certain place and misbehaving and bringing badness, enough things wouldn't happen. But how about the legal causation? What's it? You know, I Googled, Ashley is a lawyer, is a law student. You find that quick, man. Eh? Talk to me. Or am I notes? Did I teach you one day? Anyway, let me stop that. So the legal causation, we talk about the proximate cause. So always ask, should the defendant's conduct be deemed the legal cause of the harmful result? Is it so should the person who misbehave, bring the badness, bad up the place, be responsible for the harmful result? So is it fair then and just to impute or attribute the resulting harm to defendant's conduct? That's really what is asked. So to answer the question, there is a two-prong approach. May I tell you now the law going on? Determine whether the defendant performed a culpable act. Determine whether the defendant's act was an operating and significant cause of the result. So let's find the culpable act. Let's say there is a party happening and the girl them dancing and one of the girl them go up and just box the next girl, and then she take off our spike heel when she get the box and say blah 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 blah, and use our stilettos, our 6-inch stilettos, and bore up a girl. Well, the result is that the first girl where box the next girl, and cause her to respond and defend herself. That person is the person. That's how causation work. And so you then have to determine whether the defendant's act was an operating and significant cause of the result. Well, the law speaks on many cases because you see, once you start the chain of causation, is very, 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 very rare that the chain of causation is broken, because that is how the criminal law treats itself. So you are not afforded the self defense when you are the aggressor. That is something people have to understand. Um, the aggressor is only afforded provocation, but provocation is really a partial defense. And I said it earlier, and it's usually in terms of murder. I can tell you that right now. So anyway, because it's a partial defense that bring it from that to manslaughter. It's a statutory defense actually, right? Now it says that if after the defendant has acted, some other act or event were to occur, bring about the prescribed result, the defendant may escape liability. So you have cases like Smith, Jordan, Cheshire, Roberts, Williams, and Davis. Blow is the case. You take your victim as you find them. Deere and Kennedy. These are some cases that, and then there's a case called Holloway. Um, I don't ask me why I remember all of them. I remember them, but I just want to say to you that when one goes and makes the assessment, it's an interesting thing. What people know, a beer lawyer up on the live right now, them research the case, have the case. I'm so proud. I'm proud. I'm proud of Uno. Proud of Uno for checking it. Um, I used to say blah, but if you are studying for exam, you say blow. Sound like a firearm. Anyway, so there are some general principles of causation. A defendant's actions need not be the scientific or medical cause of the result. Defendant does not need to touch the victim. So sometimes you can frighten somebody and them run off and hurt themselves, and you are the reason why the person harmed themselves, and you're liable for that. For instance, in the case of Roberts would have almost kidnapped a girl and she jumped out of the car and hurt herself. He was liable. In the case of Williams and Davis, they were giving the person a ride, and the guy was like, "Oh, these guys look like they're gonna rob me," and he jumped out of the back seat, and he ended up dying, and they were not found guilty because they didn't do anything. So that's the thing about need not touch the victim. Well, the defendant must take the victim as she finds her. So remember, if you decide, say, you're going to walk up to a girl at a party and box her, and she have fits or sickle cell or blood thinning disease, and when you box or thinning skin and you box her and she bleed to death, you have to take your victim. If you hit a girl and she's Jehovah Witness and she doesn't want a blood transfusion, problems that um if for instance you decide say you hurt somebody and them say yo only pork can save the person, some Boston jerk pork can save the person, and then the person is a Rasta and the Rasta man say no, I'm no pork, no, I forgot just unalive me, and then he dies, you're still responsible for that. And that is how the law actually works. So the defendant's acts need not be the sole cause of the consequence. It's a whole causation works and criminal liability works is that once you have started the chain of events, the cost. Oh, I'm gonna update on that. Let me update on that. Thank you. Walking in divine. I need to do it. I need to update that aspect of it. So thank you for reminding me. Um, if I can find it, I think this is the correct one. Yeah. All right. Let me send it. Yeah. So we have we clear on that now, right? So that yeah, I think we're clear on that. So it just means then that in appreciating what is being said about the defendant's act need not be the sole cause of the consequence. Um, you have an appreciation for what is being said. Um, you start the chain of causation, it's just very, very, very rare. Because here's the principle that says an intervening act will break the chain of causation. So again, if the girl decides that she'll go rough up the girl and the girl respond and her response is proportionate to the threat, then you automatically realize that the aggressor conduct need not be the sole cause of the consequence. So one will be afforded self-defense and one is unable to break the chain of causation. That's how that go. So the critique about the doctrine of causation is that um there's sometimes inconsistent punishment for the same conduct. Questions to ask is should we be thinking not about the actual consequence of an actor's action, but those that she set out to cause. So really, it's the result crime because let me tell you, I'm gonna address something. Can you imagine being in a space to enjoy yourself and you get harm and you cannot believe it. You don't have nothing to do with it and you get harmed. So there's a doctrine. I remember I said earlier about how sometimes events can take place and so much overlap. Usually where there's criminal, there's civil, but civil, I mean criminal in criminal. So there's a doctrine called transferred malice. So sometimes a person will intend. Usually what happens is um persons can either them and them friend them can decide so them are go hurt somebody and they end up hurting another person. So then the defense back then would have been, oh, I never intended to hurt that person. For instance, if somebody come to shoot you and them end up shoot somebody and them shoot them in them hand, they never intend to shoot the other person. But let's say the person gets shot and is injured, the defense would be I never intended to injure that person. Well, the what the law says is, well, there is something called the doctrine of transferred malice, and the doctrine of transferred malice now um, simply says that the intention for the other person is set out. Dora's world, big up yourself. The intention from that person is transferred to the victim, and then you find that the culpability lies from the transferred malice. So there's a lot of things to think of. I told you guys about causation, told you guys about omission. Walking in divine purpose is telling me that I must say something. So Colette Ranger Vassal, I want to say big up to you because you have contributed to the tablet drive. So there's a tablet drive going on in Portland Eastern. Last year we gave out about 3,000. I want to say there about 3,500 plus tablets plus the 10 that the government issued through the Universal. I don't want to say the wrong thing. The Universal, the internet people, and they did that. So somebody help me so I don't say the wrong thing. The Universal something fund, service fund, USF. Yes, USF. Right, Universal Service Fund. Thank you, because you know so them did not get me. And we gave out 10 tablets this year, which was attached to the 3,500 that we gave out for the duration of last year. Well, and I became the member of parliament, meeting in Region 2. They were able to educate me about the amount of students that are in the schools in Portland Eastern Universal Service Fund. I appreciate it. So after doing the math, we have exactly 3,750 tablets that we need to get to give the remaining students so that every child in Portland Eastern that's going to school has a tablet. And we have to complete it this year, hopefully by back to school, because new picnic barn, new picnic turn 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. So more of them are going into schools, and then we don't want the cycle to continue where we don't make up the deficit. So 3,750 is the drive. Tanisha B, who is my moderator on TikTok, said, "What are you waiting on? You need to start now." And she said, "I'm going to give you 2 tablets a month." And she purchased our first 2. Verona, also my moderator, she matched it, and other persons have been matching it. Walking in Divine Purpose on on YouTube has also participated, and other persons have since. I've been on TikTok a couple of times, and persons would have sent gifts, the equivalent of the gifts in the equivalent, and that's where we are. What I can tell you, and let me announce it, right? Let me just put it up right now, because Walking in Divine said I was to show that is the tablet drive has started, and I'm proud to announce officially that here it is, that the Geotech Vision, Geotech is the company that partnered with me last year, and they have literally, in an effort to ensure that we meet the target, is allowing persons who purchase the tablet in the all you have to do is let them know that it's for the tablet drive, because they deliver the tablets to me. You can pay it directly to them. We'll provide the account and all of that. Or you can pay it to me and I purchase it to them. As in, pay it to the GoFundMe, Walking in Divine, and say it's for the tablet. They have said if for 100 US dollars, you get 2 tablets. And I think that's the best rate for an Android powered tablet, and they're assisting that. So people use up the facility before them change their mind. Cause last year, anyway, me not scandal them on the YouTube, or on I am on air locally. But shout out to Geotech, their founders, and just the company on a whole, for last year allowing me to be able to deliver about 3,500 tablets. Plus, as I said, Universal Service Fund, their 10, which they added, and the ad hoc tablets that were given to me that wasn't a part of Geotech. But the total number was very significant last year, and we want to also achieve that this year. Very, very important. So appreciate everybody for doing their thing. So the donor special offer is buy 2 tablets for just 100 US dollars, and you purchase directly through Geotech Vision or through the Office of the Member of Parliament. Every tablet purchase goes directly to a child in Eastern Portland. That's really what it is, and the goal is 350 tablets. So we want to thank Colette Ranger Vassal for stepping up to the plate immediately. No itching, as they would say, and for anybody else who do it, because I see that the GoFundMe is actually moving. So for anybody, and I know it's for the tablet, so it will be allocated to Geotech, and we'll get the tablets for the kids. They already start going to the somebody says she has to buy water. The only water I drink is pure water, just in case you never know. But anyway, um, just know that. So we getting it done, and appreciate the support from everybody, and thank you in advance. I will check it and I'll give you the big up next week if I don't see it during the show. But yeah, that's really what is happening right now. Um, Big up. So yeah. So there we have it. So we spoke again. Defend yourself in a high crime society, and it's law versus animal farm. One of the reality is this. We don't run kangaroo court in Jamaica. We we don't we don't play around with evidence in Jamaica. If they play around with it, the result is that the case I got throw out. So you have to issue no warning. The integrity of the process will always, always, always be on trial. Because me practice law is all the way to the Privy Council. I'm just making that clear. And the integrity of the process will always be on trial, because when it comes to the constitutionality of the process, remember, Jamaica is has one of the most prospective charters of rights. They actually says it must be demonstrably justified in a free and democratic society. So you cannot breach, abridge, or abrogate the rights of the citizens. And so, to anybody who don't really understand what's going on, it's important for you to have an appreciation for how the justice system work in Jamaica. Things to be proud of. We have two of the most erudite, brilliant black minds, Afrocentric minds in the Caribbean at the head of our judiciary. Proud to say a male and a female. I don't have to call any names. Do your research. Role models for you to be proud of, so that when persons are looking for who to be like, there's enough of them in Jamaica that you don't have to fall victim to umpy scumpy behavior. And it is important that your role models, you can identify them. So for your vision board 2026, you want to be able to say that these are the people that I want to be like in the future. But not everybody want to be a lawyer or a judge. We understand that. What I'm talking about is identifying black excellence, identifying the identifying just a marker, somebody to be like, so that you don't fall. You need a guide. You don't want to fall victim to circumstances, and because there are roadmaps, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just have to have a marker for a marker for ambition. That's really what I'm saying. So because I know that, and I know that the justice system works, um, when people are on trial, the entire system is on trial. So I can just tell you, I find it unfortunate when persons are start off on a bad foot by flouting the justice system, by using and it's not technicalities, when people make ex parte applications, it means that the other side must have an opportunity. Misrepresentations to the court, ways to breach persons' freedom of movement and suspension of liberty. We have bail legislation that is supposed to be respected and used, and where it's not used, it's justified as to why it is not being used. The human aspect of it, client care, so that when persons are injured, if the system is unable to take care of it by simply changing gauze treatments to make sure that persons are not infected. These things are live issues and forms part of putting the justice system on trial. A system that is riddled with delay as the basis for the decay and festering wound that cannot be healed because of poor financing. These things are real. So things don't happen in a bubble. While criminal law is rigid, the Constitution and human rights law has expanded the interpretation. Our local courts have understood constitutional remedies in some form for delay, have painstakingly had to overturn convictions because constitutional breaches that rise to that level, or find a remedy that sometimes ought to be more than an apology, but they've gone to resorting to apologies as well. All of these things are there so that the integrity of the justice system lies with the integrity of the investigators, the prosecutors, the judges, and even defense attorneys, making representation to the courts that people can rely on. Integrity, just in case people aren't aware, is doing the right thing even when no one is watching. Integrity is not Integrity has nothing to do with morality. It has to do with um, legality, and I would respectfully say constitutionality, as interpreted by the Privy Council, so that persons don't invoke standards that aren't in there, but rather just simply respect the law as it is written. Um, and then because of that, remember, people have their hard work. One thing I've always noticed, and it is the culture, especially in Black culture, is that it must always be a competition, so that persons find themselves always creating boxing matches and dancehall clashes, even when it's not necessary to do so. It's a part of the fiction. So here I am, looking at the internet and wondering, because let me tell you something. Um, Champs just passed, and School Pride had come up. School Challenge quiz passed, and it's a part of School Pride. Well, again, guess what? In all of this conversation about School Pride, it dawned on me, you have some very successful criminal lawyers in Jamaica that practice at the criminal bar. I will start with Bert Samuels. Bert Samuels, very, very great lawyer. Um, Bert Samuels called me to the bar. Him say me is a hush lawyer, so I guess him is the senior, and called me to the bar. So you won't, it hurts if you diss Bert. So you won't ever hear me diss him. Big up Bert. But he was from, I'm raising his name because he was from Meadowbrook High School. Bert Samuels went to Meadowbrook High School. So the youths them at Meadowbrook High School who probably not pressure them book the way them supposed to pressure them book. Big up Bounty Killer time say book, book, book. You for pressure who no book. Yeah, great lawyers come from Meadowbrook High School. And then I said, well, Bert went to Meadowbrook High School. Look at that. And he has done extraordinary work through his legal career. Just know that. Then I look and I said, Mr. Christopher Townsend went to Meadowbrook High School, criminal at the criminal bar, very significant, and he also has done extraordinary work. And then there is King's Counsel, Mr. Peter Champagne, that also went to Meadowbrook High School. And then I said, what are they teaching down at Meadowbrook High School? First, me ever see that, jet, somebody fly a jet, every now and then when I take my private jet on a Saturday morning to go to like the Bahamas. The other day I heard that that the minister of labor was in one foreign country, and then he showed up in parliament. I said, wow, the private jets that fly fast. But anyway, let me stop, because then they go question me about my 80 million. And then it dawned on me that these role models were always present, because I too went to Meadowbrook High School, and then I said, look at that. If ever there was school pride, those who went to Meadowbrook High School have to stop and say, yo, I'll be here, big shot lawyer, go Meadowbrook High School. You don't have to include me in it, right? Me a hush lawyer. But just to know that has invoked that a level of school pride, and to say that I went to a school that might not be doing the best in track and field, and when boys champs come up and nobody's repping Meadowbrook High School like they do for the traditional high schools, or nobody's calling the names when it comes to that. There was certainly when I was going Meadowbrook, Manning Cup, Meadowbrook did come up. But just to know that academically at the end of it all, whatever it is, extraordinary. And I suppose that happened in all schools, but to note, if nobody else does it, that the names I just called, Bert Samuels, Christopher Townsend, King's Counsel, Peter Champagne, and even myself, Isa Buchanan, have gone through the gates of Meadowbrook High School. I did so during the time of Dr. Morris, may her soul rest in peace, and know that it is a noble institution that has produced great men, and the work speaks for itself. That is interesting. And so I just want to make one thing. So there is a girl that did not go to Meadowbrook High School. She's on I'm going to highlight it before. I don't want to block her yet, but she says that you think it take boy to go up against King's Counsel in a court. And I said, Kylie, I just want to take this opportunity to say this. How the criminal justice system works is that it is the DPP, and if anybody knows the history of ISAT, the DPP is the representative for the state. You'd be surprised to know that defense attorneys don't go up against each other in court. So this isn't Judge Judy. This isn't any one of those TV dramas where they think that Annalise Keaton is going to run up in the court and somebody going to dig up Proctor from Power or Lincoln Lawyer or anything like that. I mean, what people have to understand is that right now, the question should be about, the current DPP, Miss Claudette Thompson, brilliant lady, and she's doing her thing right now. So focus on extraordinary men and women who are role models because of how they work in their profession, so that young people can aspire to want to be great in professions that are noble and participate as productive members of society, so that the people who not so fancy for education aren't the ruling class. aren't the political class. So yeah, somebody said the ISAT and DPP is oil and water. That is how it's supposed to be for the nature of the criminal law. That the DPP is always the antagonistic partisan or partner to the defense attorney. And the law actually says, and the canon says, well, defense attorneys win, prosecutors do justice. So the match that people think of is not a match at all. And persons just need to and it sounds nice for social media, but people must understand the realities as they are and treat it as such. Have conversations about how to prevent our young, talented, brilliant young men and women from falling off and losing important years in their lives for moments of irrational thinking. Those are conversations we should have, and certainly as the spokesperson, opposition spokesperson on youth and human rights, we'll always take the opportunity to talk about how to ensure that young people become the best versions of themselves, and when they get to the best versions of themselves, how to protect their status from damage to reputation and and robbing a society of the talent that God would have given you. I can only have that conversations. Those who rule your emotions rule your life. It should never be up for grabs. Thank you. That is very powerful. But I am going to share one in response to that, and simply say it, and I'm going to put it up for people to see. Um, Here it is. A healthy mind does not speak ill of others. A healthy mind does not speak ill of others. If you inject positive words into people, even the ones that you don't know, if you encourage greatness to people, and everybody is supportive to the hopes and dreams of people, especially when they put themselves up for attempting greatness. Like last it would have been last week, I had the opportunity to meet some of the young women participating in the Miss Universe Portland chapter, and sitting with them and looking at their brilliance, different ages with different hopes, different dreams, but all uniquely and universally beautiful, and have their entire future ahead of them. And it doesn't even cost anything to inject positive um positive information, thoughts, ideas into these women. So it's important to just simply take the opportunity to say that, because I really want people to appreciate what is at stake when the future of our youth is in the balance, whether in the courts, whether in law, and just even by econo- economics. Yeah, let me say it that way, because when when the distractions come up, I don't know, there, as the PAC is dealing with what's happening at the University Hospital of the West Indies, I think of a mother that goes into one of these hospitals and baby dies, and she's not going to get any justice because who those who take the Hippocratic oath is not going to do what they're supposed to do, so she feels. those who have put themselves up to be caregivers are not giving care. So she feels a loss of life, a, a stretched medical system. Um, all of these things are what's not to there should be no distractions. So when people now have ventilator and people now have hospital beds and you hear how much millions of dollars is missing unaccounted for, 1.6 billion dollars in contracts and nobody don't know if the contract do or the benefit has gone to the hospital. Side conversation, side benefits, and people are finding ways to distract um, the public from issues that actually matter. Because the justice system, I tell you, the justice system will take its course, and vindication comes. It either comes yasso or it goes where it comes where it needs to come. One thing I can tell you, when you're right, and them can't tell you say you're wrong. So them can only delay it. That's the beauty of justice. So conversations about where our final court should be. Should we stay with the Privy Council, or should we go to the CCJ? All these things are very, very important. Gonna pause to say, Peggy Senior, a big shout out to you for sending your donations towards the tablet drive. You would have provided funds that will assist in at least 2 tablets. So respect to you. We appreciate the support. So just taking the opportunity to shed light and to big up those who were doing that. And again, as our extraordinary persons find them way on social media, we should not participate in tearing them down. So again, I want to big up Anansi, aka Jamaican Spider-Man, in repping the Jamaican colors while he brings joy to young people and children who are just excited to see him. He was brought before the court for having a scissors, which was a part of his work duties, and the court rightfully took a particular course and dismissed the matter. And he doesn't have to be going back and forth to court, nor does he have to pay for a crime that he did not commit. So big up to him, because I know that he's happy about the outcome for himself. Extraordinary Portlander. So every opportunity me get for big him up, me and big him up and follow his page, not his content posted by persons who don't have content. Oftentimes we should follow the source and support the source, so that the very thing that you appreciate can continue to grow, and that their content we encourage them to continue to inspire. All right, so again, context matters is affected by daylight saving time. So it is now 6:59 in the United States, and it's 5:59. This was Context Matters for you. Thank you so much for watching on Best FM 100 YouTube, as well as TikTok and Reggae Global Radio. I will see you guys next week. And yes, I am representing Jeffrey. It's in the news. If at minimum the Jamaica Observer is a media of integrity, it was published there. So I think I've answered that. So big up to you and watch the ride. That's all I will say.
It took some time to understand, yeah, just what it takes to be a man. Now it seems each day you learn something to make a better way. Growing up ain't just a phase, it's reality. And sometimes it's hard to face the world with your head naturally, like the hurt and the pain. It's a part of the game. It's all a part of life. To laugh and to cry. That's right. It's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it stride. No time for living a lie. Gotta keep it moving till you get it right. That's right. It's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep it stride. No time to be living a lie. You can make it if you try. No, I heard them say life much better you live it your own way. But if you need a helping hand, just call on me, I will be your friend. And when it gets hard to face the world with your head screwed on, just tell yourself you can. And that's when you'll understand that the hurt and the pain, it's a part of the game. It's all a part of life. To laugh and to cry. That's right. It's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep your stride. No time for living a lie. Gotta keep it moving till you get it right. That's right. It's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep your stride. No time to be living a lie. You can make it if you try. You gotta keep on moving on. Don't let no one stand in your way. Gotta keep on pressing on. As we pray for better days, keep it moving. Moving to the next. When they try to bring you down, we gotta take it. Take it to the next level when they come around. That's right. It's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep your stride. No time for living a lie. Gotta keep it moving till you get it right. That's right. It's all in life. Gotta keep your head up and keep your stride. No time to be living a lie. You can make it if you try. Just keep your head up, yeah. Just keep your head up, yeah. Gotta keep your head up, yeah. Cause everything's gonna be alright.
Keep your head up. Keep your head up. Keep your head up.
Cause everything's gonna be alright.